And we're live! Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Bad Dev Diary.
Yes. Dan and Paul's weekly therapy session as they burn themselves out working on the Big Bad.
That's right. And with fall coming and sort of other daily responsibilities looming, it's getting harder and harder, I think, to juggle all of the things.
Yes, it is. Happy September, Paul.
Thanks.
My department at the university actually today was the deadline to get in our syllabi to the department for approval.
Exciting. Well,
ask me whether I did that or not.
Yeah. Did you get that in?
No, I did not.
Oh dear.
No.
Okay. Well,
no. On the hard to juggle point, that was part of my day here.
Let's further delay that by jumping into the Big Bad Development Diary. So, tonight on the Big Bad Development Diary, we will be talking about the state of the project. We'll be talking about all of the things going on with the channel. Lots of interesting promotions going on. Subscription drive, new patron benefits, all kinds of stuff, merch, etc., all kinds of good stuff. In the deep dive, we will be revealing another team. I think this is our second to last reveal, I believe. Is that right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. All right. This team's crazy.
Yeah. And then in our character feature, we will be talking about Tornarax Witchborn, the Tiefling Warlock, which is
correct.
Very, very cool character. Fun miniature for me to build.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's lovely.
So all that and more tonight on the Big Bad Development Diary. So Dan, as always, I will ask you once again to summarize for our new comers. What is the Big Bad?
Well, I'm glad, I've been thinking about that lately, Paul. What is the Big Bad, after all? Essentially, what is it? Well, of course, it's our competition tournament D&D show that we've been working on all year that's coming up for the fall. And every week we have a prominent online streaming team come through the same session that we co-DM, with you as the fair DM and me as the evil run the monsters, try to kill them DM. And every week they get scored, there's a leaderboard, and every team is really trying their hardest to get crowned champions in our award show at the end of the season.
Excellent. Dan, did you know that the Big Bad has a Wikipedia entry? Not our show, but the term?
I did not. Is that true?
Yeah,
really?
I looked it up recently. So the interesting thing about the origin of the term "the Big Bad" is it's actually a reference to from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And,
I ran across that about a week back. As a matter of fact, if you'd quizzed me, I wouldn't have been able to answer that. But I did say that about a week back.
That was the first usage of that term to mean a recurring villain. So there
Makes
you go.
sense.
Recurring villain, which is exactly your role in the show.
It's a ferocious. Actually, my elevator pitch doesn't get at the fact that the show is like ferocious play on both directions. And of course, you and I are familiar with tournaments being a really important part of first edition D&D a long time ago. And when people get into this scenario, they are ferociously trying to beat me, and I'm ferociously trying to beat them, and they're also fiercely trying to one-up the other teams, as we now see on social media, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that comes from Buffy. Actually, that's a nice legacy.
There you go. There you go. All right, great. I think a lot of folks praise the show for being a really interesting new take, and of course we always then point out, well, it's not new. Actually, that the tournament idea has been around since the 70s, but certainly it's a new twist on it with the two DMs. That is definitely a new angle that I've not seen done anywhere else.
You're right.
And it's just delightful. We're gonna maybe
see a nice combination.
Yeah. we're going to see a little bit, maybe, of the interplay between our two roles as referee and the big bad in tonight's clip of our...
For the first time, yeah. We've been really cagey about it up until now, and I think that, because at this point we actually are done with the shooting part of our schedule, of course, and now we're going into our editing cycle. But we've been really super cagey up until now to really not show any part of the board and really not show any part of the play to make sure that the upcoming teams didn't know anything at all, what was about to happen, really. And so now at this point, we're going to start to reveal a little bit more behind the screen about what the play's like, and I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, we're trying still hard to not give too many spoilers in the development diary for folks who want to watch the show. But we were very careful about it early on when we were still mid-shoot because we didn't want any of the potential future contestants to get an edge by seeing something we accidentally put on the internet.
Right. So we had some prominent people like taking oaths to keep it secret from other people that they were really close friends with along the way, and that worked out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it did. Okay, great. So we'll get into that in a minute, but first is our state of the project. So, as you mentioned, we're done shooting, right? So that's great. That's behind us.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
All the footage is slowly making its way over the internet to our editor, who's starting to make his way through the episodes. I actually did a screening of a cut of the first episode recently, which you may have seen a post of a funny picture of that on Twitter. And that's basically our life.
At the moment, you have your upstairs game room turned into basically a movie theater at this point, so you can review the shoots in full screen.
I mean, that was exactly the idea. One of the parts of the set was I had to get these big black curtains to sort of box out and define the space where the set was going to live. And when I was finally tearing it down because we were done with the shoots, I saw these giant curtains, and I thought, hey, just for a lark, why don't I put a white curtain up there? And we'll watch a movie tonight. That's my wife and I had a nice movie night as a and a little extra benefit of having those curtains up. And as I was setting it up and getting ready for movie night, I was like, what am I going to watch? Well, I guess I got a lot of reviews to do for editing for the Big Bad. So why don't I watch one of the cuts of the Big Bad?
Great.
And that's what I did. It was really nice. It was actually really quite pleasant. I really enjoyed watching it that way.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it feels like it deserves the big screen. Someone on, it's funny because someone online the other day said, like, what is the number, like if theaters reopened right now, what is the number one movie you'd want to see in the theater? And honestly, the main thing that I regret not seeing in the theater is actually Gladiator with Russell Crowe. And it's funny because we actually wound up not using it, but a while back we were actually debating an intro for the Big Bad based on a gladiatorial arena.
Yep.
So it's very much got that kind of vibe, and I think it deserves to be on the big screen. Is what I'm saying. I think that would be a good way of delivering it, honestly.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah.
Well. I agree. I got to see it that way, so I can't disagree with that.
Were you not entertained, Paul?
I was indeed. All right, let's talk about some of the promotional stuff going on right now. So one thing going on with the channel specifically is we are doing a subscription drive right now. What does that mean? We have a page up on our website, and it's all over our social media right now, where you can enter into a drawing for some pretty cool prizes, and the means of entering that drawing is subscribing to our YouTube page. So please do that. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. Please use that as a mechanism to enter the drawings. If you're already subscribed, you can still do so. It's great. Just click through it as if you were going to subscribe. It's fine. You're already subscribed. You don't need to worry about that. Just click through and you'll be entered into the drawing. Some pretty great prizes. What kind of stuff are we giving away, Dan?
Well, let me see. I remember that on the lower end, we're giving everything away. The second tier is to give away every digital product that you and I have ever made for old school D&D online, actually. So that includes my Book of Spells, my OED Book of War. That includes your R.A. Salvatore presents the horrible crypt of the horrible sisterhood. Sorry, if I get that right. And also your new Mirror product, if I recall.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Yeah, maybe I made that title too long, Dan.
I don't know, Paul. That might
maybe that title's too long. It's the Vile Crypt of the Reawakened Sisterhood.
There you go.
That was actually part of the original inspiration. Was I rolled that title randomly on a chart out of pieces, so it got put together, and that was the inspiration that then built the whole adventure.
Sometimes it's, I actually like that it's burdensomely long. I feel like that itself has an old school vibe about, this is a difficult adventure, and it starts with just saying the name of the thing. Just saying the name of the thing already is actually kind of a harsh challenge that we've posed you, and I kind of don't mind that.
The nice thing, too, is that there's actually some clues about what you're going to face in the title, right? That the title, because the title was the inspiration point and everything was built off of that, there's maybe a little information about this stuff that's going on in there. Anyway, so that's you're right. That's first prize is all those PDFs. What does the grand prize winner get? How can we possibly give away more than that, Dan?
Well, I don't know, Paul, but that's, I think so. It's that the grand prize winner gets all of that plus all the physical stuff that we've made, basically. So we recently rolled out a merch site just last week, and there's things like mugs with the big bad on it. Some person can get a T-shirt. I don't know if you knew that, Paul, but a person can actually now get a Wandering DM's T-shirt with the big bad on it.
Sure can.
And so the grand prize winner will get all of those things signed by both of us, as well as stickers, I think. Did I miss anything? Is that it?
And then the actual print, they get a print copy of Book of War, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, basically,
I gotta restock that.
all the physical products we have, personally inscribed by us, signed by us. So good stuff. Some nice stuff there. You mentioned the merch store. I will point out, of course, that's live right now, and anyone can pop on there right now and go ahead and buy some stuff. That's right on our website, wanderingdams.com. Just click on the store button. Also,
you might as well hit the subscription drive while they're there.
When they go to the
website. Might as well. Why not?
Also, consider looking at the Patreon, because patrons get a discount at the merch store. It's pretty hefty discounts at some of the higher tiers. So, that's new too, right?
When I got this, I actually personally paid full price on it. So by going to our website, you can actually buy merch at a lower price than I myself got it, which I don't think is fair, but okay.
That's what you get for being first.
The adversary's getting screwed as usual. The adversary's getting screwed once again.
We've also been adding other stuff to the patron benefits. So merch discount. They get access to our private Discord channel, or Discord server rather. Which is exciting for us. That's new for us, and we're kind of figuring out how to use it. We're doing some cool stuff with it. Just last Sunday, after our normal 1 p.m. talk show, we popped onto the Discord server and continued chatting about the topic, you and I, and had a patron join us and hang out for a little bit on video chat. So that was fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Got to meet, get to visually meet one of our, longtime viewers and patrons, which was, which was kind of a bit of a surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen when I woke up that morning. So that was really neat, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely look for more opportunities to hang out there, interact with patrons, and then also try to mine you guys for ideas, frankly. We would love to hear from you what kind of stuff you want to see us produce. So there's that. And actually, to bring it back to the big bad, we are actively looking at ways to premiere the show on that Discord channel. Specifically, what I'm hoping to do is use the Discord server to stream the premiere of the show with us attached, at least via voice. Although I don't know if you want us to talk over the show, but we'll be there, all kind of watching the show together and able to comment.
Only when there's a mistake.
Oh dear. Great. Have us quibbling over little nuanced mistakes that you probably wouldn't have noticed.
I was trying to think. Exact. As always, in any piece of artwork, the person who made it is keenly, sensitively aware to the teeny tiny microscopic foibles that nobody else will ever notice.
Yeah.
So my plan, Paul, was basically just distract people and yell over certain parts.
Oh, I see.
Which only really would happen like once every other episode, but I would probably yell and distract people. Like, hey, what? Exactly, as William's saying, MST3K style, precisely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
We're gonna just parody our
I
own show.
got puppets here. I'll go get some puppets, and we'll do some puppetry.
Oh dear. All right. I think that covers everything, Dan. Did I miss anything for our state of the project there?
I think that's basically it. But just in case I forget, I should say that on the channel, as we focus on getting more viewers on the channel in advance for the Big Bad, we do have some really great guests coming up on the Sunday talk show.
It's true.
That if people again subscribe on YouTube, they won't be missing. This Sunday we've got Sean K. Reynolds as the guest on the Sunday talk show, and he has been a designer for D&D 2nd edition, 3rd edition, Pathfinder. He's currently at Monte Cook Games, and in addition to that, he was the first ever dedicated online hire at TSR. So he's actually really been at the lead of online gaming and online communication since the very first day that was a thing. And so personally, I'm really interested in pinging Sean K. Reynolds' perspective this Sunday on how much online gaming has changed and how much it's been the same since basically he started that. So that's this Sunday.
Yeah, that should be really interesting.
Yeah. And then 2 Sundays after that, we have James. I'm really pleased that we have James Malazewski of Grognardia, who really super famous blog, had a hiatus of about 8 years and just recently started up blogging consistently on Grognardia again in the last week or two, as a matter of fact. And so the fact that I reached out to James and he agreed to be on the talk show in 3 weekends, I think should be really super interesting.
That's great. And in between those two amazing guests, of course, we will finish duking it out over our topic of action.
Can you drink a potion in 1 round?
Can you drink a potion? Some interesting action on that front. But yeah. All right, so that is. I think that wraps it up for our state of the project.
Yes.
Right there.
That was too much. I couldn't drink it all at once, Paul, so I had to. That was a little too much. I'll be more careful. Sorry.
All right, well, let's move on to our deep dive, where we're going to talk about our exciting new competitors, or our announcement of our new competitors. All right, so the next group that we're going to announce, which I think actually I noticed was maybe mentioned on Facebook earlier today, is Madbird Streams. So I'm very excited to have Madbird Streams join us for an episode. If you haven't seen them, they're a great Twitch channel, do a lot of actual plays and stuff like that. They're on twitch.tv/madbirdstreams. Funny, actually, so odd story of how I got in touch with Madbird Streams. Actually, they're probably the first sort of other big streaming group that I had personal contact with, which happened because over a year ago, I went to the last live D&D Live, not this past one that they just did, which was purely virtual, but the one before that. Randomly got an invite to that through work. It was like one of those weird, like last minute, like, oh hey, you want to fly out to LA and go to this thing? And by the way, while you're there, do you also want to go to the premiere of Godzilla? Which is why I have that picture of Godzilla on my shelf there behind my head.
Right.
From being at the premiere. So yeah, crazy weekend of like, now you get to go to D&D Live, but now you have to leave D&D Live to go to the premiere of Godzilla. Yeah, sure. Let's do all those things. Why not?
Right. Right, I'm remembering that.
Yeah.
With the whole red carpet and everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The whole
Crazy.
we were at Man's Chinese
Crazy.
Theater, and it was, I saw Thomas Middleditch there. It was like a few feet from Thomas Middleditch. That was super fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but that aside, on our first morning there at D&D Live, we were actually supposed to have fancy guest badges, but no one seemed to know what was going on. So we got in line. And we stood in line, and next to me in line was Ed Chuck of Madbird Streams. And we struck up a conversation. And there you go. And the rest is history.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What a crazy world it is, really. Madbird Streams has really impressive programming. I mean, they have like 5 shows a week, I think, of like every one of them has their own play, and they've got 3 on the weekend or something like that. And wonderful group to play with. I'm so glad that they're in the mix for the Big Bad, because we had such a blast playing with them, and they brought a really interesting, different take to the game, and they were just really delightful to me to try my best tormenting job.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really fun group to play with. Super enjoyed it. I think are they the only group that features Tornarax Witchborn?
I think so. Yeah, I think, and we'll talk more about that in the character highlight. But yeah, I think our highlighted character this week, Tornarax, they kind of surprised us a little bit. But yes, I think they were the only team that picked Tornarax.
Yeah, I know we saw Tornarax in the playtests, but
correct. Yeah.
But yeah. He's one of my favorite characters actually to see on the board during the Big Bet. So I was super glad to see that.
And he's actually not the only character that they're the only team to pick from. They had a really unique selection of characters on their roster.
That's right.
Yeah. So we'll have to talk about at least one more in another week.
Yeah, we will. Excellent. Okay, but we have a clip here of Steph, and who got to play Tornarax Witchborn, and a fun little bit of personality that she imbued into the character. And as hinted at earlier before, you're going to see a little bit of the Ref and Big Bad interplay happen as well. So should be a good clip. Shall we watch that right now?
Let's do that.
Excellent.
Tornarax.
That's Tornarax.
Tornarax. There we go. I won't forget it. Yeah.
Yes.
Can't you fly over there? Or
I mean,
fly around and scout ahead?
I have a broom, yes, so that does allow me to fly. Broom Hilda is her name, but let's not get into that.
Tornarax, just for your knowledge about the broom, you know that alone on the broom it moves at a rate of 50 feet. You have in the past been able to take a single passenger at a slower move rate of 30. If you're separated from it, you're also able to call it back with a command word, and it'll come flying back.
Ooh, that's nice.
Such a lovely object. Tornarax will take out the broom and kind of put it up to his mouth. You're lovely. And to get on it to start flying.
I want Tercius to run up and take away Tornarax's broom.
Let's rule this as if it was, say, like a grapple attack. So give me an attack roll, a melee attack roll, to grab onto the broom.
Okay. Even though Tornarax is paralyzed?
Sorry, Tornarax is paralyzed. I totally forgot about that.
Tornarax
totally
paralyzed.
Indeed. Okay.
So I have the broom?
Then I will say yes, indeed. You snatch up the broom.
And I heard the command word earlier?
Did you? It was very far away when it was invoked, all the way back at the entrance. In fact, I recall the stealth check that was rolled was sufficient for the passive perception of the cultists. So unfortunately,
you're gonna go that way.
No,
you're gonna go that way, Ref.
The cultists have not heard the magic word. Cultists have not heard the magic word.
You know what? It's a secondary issue. I have the broom, and I run back to the bridge with it.
I don't have my broom anymore.
You don't.
What a sad day.
However, I guess I will remind you that you can summon it with a command word. That is one of its abilities.
Oh, right. That's right. Gosh darn it. Okay.
I think, Ref, I'm going to dispute that. That's only if it was sent with a command word in the first place.
You can send the broom to travel a destination. If you speak a command word in the location of a familiar place, the broom comes back to you when you speak another command word, provided the broom is still within a mile of you. I'm not sure that those are tied together in that way.
I think those are tied together. That's one power, and it must be sent away with a command word, and then can be brought back.
No, I believe
you can't mix and match.
I believe it can be. That's my ruling, that it can be summoned.
So
that's an incorrect ruling, Ref. Get your head screwed on. That is an incorrect ruling. Those are clearly, it has to be sent away.
I'm
with
yellow
one
carding you.
word.
Yellow carding you. This is a warning. You want to get thrown out of this show?
No.
Very good, sir.
So Tornarax, as loudly as he can, is going to yell up to the ceiling, "Come hither, my love!" And that's the command word for it to come back.
Of course it is.
I'm laughing at that all over again.
There's a whole bunch of great. Honestly, I had to cut down that clip quite a bit. There's a whole bunch of great bits with her and Broom Hilda. Broom Hilda, what a name, Broom Hilda. Oh.
Yeah,
so good.
So it's not the first romantic subplot that teams injected into the show, but it's the only one with an inanimate object. I don't know. It's a flying broom. Is a flying broom count as an inanimate object? I don't know. I guess it's an animate object, I suppose. Jeez. But Paul, did you have to remind them about that power? I'm still kind of steamed about that today. Yeah. You didn't have to remind them about the power. If I was DM, I would force them to remember it on their own.
There's a lot to remember. They have those characters for one night. I have no problem with helping them remember the many abilities that they have to keep in their heads.
I don't know. I think I got screwed there. I think I got boned.
The funny thing is, I will completely stand by my interpretation of the rules there for sending and retrieving the broom. But I did notice that I very nearly misjudged how to do a grapple attack. I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but I very nearly used it like an old kind of 3E version of grapple. And and fortunately got snatched away from me, and I didn't have to make that mistake on camera
because I'd already paralyzed the character in advance. So I was coming on strong at that point. I was paralyzing them, putting them down, stealing their stuff, everything that a DM really ought to do. Paul, you should take some lessons.
I'm really super proud of myself for having remembered the precise stealth roll. Honestly, I can't believe that managed to stick in my head.
Now I gotta say that when I first saw that clip that you put together, I really just laughed my ass off with the fact that you had almost supernaturally prepared at the start of the show by very clearly saying you can bring the broom back with a command word anytime you want, and very carefully found that clip and spliced it into the teaser in order to make me look bad. Which is kind of villainously genius on your own, right? That one I have to salute you for. That was really brilliant that you put the work in to make me look bad there. That's really impressive.
I thought it made a nice clip. It bookends the action, and it teaches players how the broom of flying works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Broom Hilda. That was a really nice. That was a really wonderful piece of business that might have distracted me a little bit. So, well done to Steph.
Yeah,
playing Tornarax.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The broom is really. We'll get into it when we get into the character highlight. But that was great portrayal there of the characters. Lots of fun. Yeah, they are a fun group. Honestly, there's a little piece of the show that I've been working on, which is just the opening sequence, the little opening titles where we show a clip from each group. And man, was it hard for me to pick one clip from their group, because they were very expressive and very fun and just a delight to play with. And it was super hard to pick just one of them to show off.
There's a particular gag that I do from time to time, trying to trying to inject a little bit of body horror on camera, and they had among the best reactions as I tried to gross everybody out.
Yeah.
And Deontay in particular, every time I did it, his reaction got bigger and bigger every time. He was like, "Oh no! Oh God!" He's like, "It's worse every time."
Yeah.
So that made for a great episode. That one I'm really going to look forward to when we release it, October-ish, or whenever we finally cut it together.
Yeah, it's a good episode. They're all good episodes, honestly. You know?
Yeah, of course they are. They are. For some reason, I feel very fond. I really feel fond about the Madbird episode. For some reason, they surprised me in kind of different direction than some other episodes.
You know, the other thing for me, I don't know if this is true for you, Dan, is that that game was so much of a blur because that was the first of 2 games we played that day. Right, we did a double.
That's why I'm not remembering it super well.
Right.
I actually have been having trouble remembering the specific details, but you're right. That was part A of our double header that day. Right.
So it's very easy for us to misremember. Yeah.
Didn't have time to really process or digest it. We had to immediately turn around and reset up both of our sets to immediately start a second show 1 hour later.
Yeah. In fact, originally they were scheduled to be directly back to back, and Madbird was very obliging in moving their slot back an hour so we could have a whole hour between shoots. Whew, that was a crazy day. That was a crazy
you're right.
day.
That was a big help. So huge thanks to Steph, Ed, Tasha, Victoria, and Deontay. That really made that day work for us.
Yep.
That was the single biggest day for us. I'm pretty sure that's the single biggest work day of us for the Big Bad was the doubleheader, and thanks to Madbird for making that feasible for us.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Did they win? Remind me. Did they win?
I'm not telling you that on this. We're not giving that away.
No? Oh.
What?
Right.
You gotta watch the episode, man. Yeah.
Right. My memory's a little hazy at this point. Help a guy out. Come on.
Another point, I'm very proud of myself. I actually was chatting with one of the members of the previous teams recently about scheduling for the final award ceremony show, which we hope to wrap up the season with. Right. And they immediately asked, "Did we win?" And I said, "You're going to have to come to the award show to find out."
Great. Super duper. Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else jump out at you about the Madbird shoot? I know that's a long time ago now, and like we said, the first of 2 shoots that day. I will have to look very closely when our editor gets that one cut together. That was I'm thinking about how it ended, and all right, I accept. I guess there's nothing else I can say publicly. I guess now that I remember that this is online, I guess there's nothing else that I can say. I think we probably have a lot to say about Tornarax, but we will save that for the character highlight.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, maybe we should just jump right into that, because that seems to be where we're leading. Great.
Yep,
Let's jump into the character highlight. So, Tornarax Witchborn. I mean, this is a bit of a stretch for us, right? Because, Warlock is a Tiefling. It's definitely very 5th edition kind of character. I suppose one might argue it's a very 4th edition kind of character, but you and I have less experience with that edition.
Good point. So as we've done the character highlights from week to week, I've intentionally front-loaded stuff that would be familiar to old-school players, stuff that could have appeared in 1st edition D&D, for example. And so here's the first. So Tornarax, our Tiefling Warlock, is the first character that absolutely didn't exist in 1st edition, and is feels to someone such as myself a little more new schooly. Certainly, Tieflings didn't get into the player's handbook, the core rules, until 4th edition. So 4th, 5th edition now they're actually in the player's handbook. And we struggled with, when we were making the roster, we struggled a bit with, with this particular issue. And the funny thing is I guess I think I can reveal here, Paul, is that on our big bad roster, we actually don't have just one tiefling, we have two.
We do have two.
And when we started out, I certainly didn't expect to have two tieflings in the roster. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to argue that they're my favorite thing to see in a D&D milieu. But, partly we were seeing other, streamers, other shows that people we liked were involved with, and tieflings appeared to be very, very popular and very, very well liked. So, partly we wanted to do some fan service and provide opportunities for people to pick one of our two tieflings.
Yep.
And then it came back around, and it actually wasn't...
Not a huge number.
It's the only race that appears twice on the roster. Well, except for humans. There's multiple humans, and there's two tieflings, and nothing else appears more than once.
Yeah. Yep.
So, a little bit of background. So, interestingly, you could argue. So, even that having been said, and to me, it's unusual to have them in Player's Handbook. You could argue that there's a little bit of them back in first edition, as a matter of fact. If you go back into the first edition AD&D Monster Manual 2, there are two demon races that are said to be offspring of demon and human couples. And the interesting thing is, William there, I think, is on the thought process that I'm going on here. The interesting thing is, in first edition, there were actually two different types based on their gender. So you had a female half-demon that was called an Alu demon, and you had a male half-demon that was called a Cambion, is what you saw. Not something that was a playable race, definitely NPC monsters only. Then if you take a step forward to second edition, specifically with the Planescape setting... I think someone can correct me if I'm wrong about this. I think the idea is they generalized the Alu demons and the Cambions together, called them tieflings, and I think in the Planescape setting at least made them a playable race. They remained a supplement race up until 4th edition, and they were popular enough as they became part of the core rules as of 4th edition, 5th edition. So William's pointing out what happened back in the day with half-elves, that weren't in original D&D but were in 1st edition D&D. And it's kind of a similar evolution. You're right.
But let's talk about Tornarax specifically. Let's dig into Tornarax, right?
Okay.
In fact, actually, sorry, usually I put up a photo. Let's get a photo up here.
I love that miniature, dude.
So, I mean, that's an interesting point, right? Is actually, I did not own any Tiefling miniatures when we started the Big Bad, and I had to order several of them special. This one was amusing because, I think in this case, right, we kind of let the miniatures influence the character design a little bit more. We ended up with this... with this Warlock character, which I think originally I was pushing for something else. I can't remember what it was that I wanted to make it into a Tiefling. I thought it was something other than a Warlock. We ended up with the Warlock, which is a fairly popular choice, I think, to make a Tiefling Warlock. And it makes sense, right, because they have the Demon-born background right, for Warlock. So it fits thematically.
Totally.
But then you have the broom, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. The standout thing about this miniature, right, is the giant, ridiculous broom that he's carrying, which I had to scratch build. The
which I love. The fact that the paint job, the paint job in the original miniature is great already, but the fact that you actually customized this according to our dictates was among one of my favorite things that shows up on the board. Honestly, Paul.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think he's originally holding a staff, and then I thought, I can just get some bristles and glue them onto the end there and give him a.
And we had a couple of the other figures have staves. So actually, I was kind of happy to have something be a little bit more unique here than just like another staff, like a couple of characters have.
But this came out because we gave him the broom, right? I think when we were talking about magic items and what magic items we wanted to put in the game, we were looking for interesting, standout, uncommon specifically uncommon because it fits the level range.
Right.
Magic items.
Right.
And there's not a ton, right? Especially when you say, we were limiting ourselves to just the 3 core books, right? Just Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide.
Exactly.
Again, just trying to give ourselves good rails there to sort of good fence posts in which to build the design around. There's not a lot of uncommon magic items, and the Broom of Flying really jumps out as a kind of a cool one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like the reasons we've limited ourselves were, we wanted things that were, well play tested, that were consistent, well known, recognizable. Was probably the number one thing that I wanted. I wanted as many people as possible, old schoolers, new schoolers, people who watched Critical Role, who didn't, have these things be as recognizable as possible, and not some completely unique out of a left field custom item. So. And I agree. We were, and also we could have just given everybody a +1 weapon, right? We could have given everybody on the board a +1 dagger. Right. And we wanted something a little bit more active, a little bit more, choice in the game about how to use it.
Yeah. Yep. And actually, when we originally designed this way back when we were running this as an OD&D game, there was a character who had Broom of Flying.
Right.
As well as a character who had a carpet of flying, actually, or a flying carpet, as it were.
Correct, right. I remember getting hosed by that once, actually. It's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, really love the Broom, though. It adds a nice mobility to the character. I love seeing characters fly around. Honestly, it always kind of breaks my heart when I see a character playing the wizard and they spend all their 3rd level slots on fireballs and don't save one for fly.
I agree.
Yeah, I love to see characters flying around.
I agree. How did you handle the flying on the show, Paul?
Yeah, so I bought some inch diameter clear acrylic rod, and I cut it to various lengths, and used that as a prop to go underneath them to stand them up hopefully without obstructing the view of the board too much. I use those as our flight stands. Yeah,
it works really super well, and I didn't expect that to begin with. Like I was expecting, obviously sometimes you're playing on the table, and then you just have like maybe a D20. Like you'll use the D20 for how many inches up the character is, and just mark it that way.
Yeah.
I myself had been thinking like a wooden dowel with a rubber band, strapping somebody on the dowel.
Yeah.
But you came up with this clear acrylic thing to put underneath them, and it works much better than anything I was coming up with.
I was really happy with how well that worked, honestly, and I had some other ideas in the background. I think I had have one of those pointers, one of those telescoping pointers, which I used to point to the board, and I was like, maybe I can repurpose one of these to sort of raise and lower, because again, you never know how high the flyer's going to fly. But yeah, just having a couple different lengths of acrylic rod and being able to stack them up. I mean, with 1 inch diameter, they're pretty sturdy. They go right under the. Or sorry, is it 1 inch or is it ½ inch?
I think
it's 1 inch. It's 1 inch, right? Yeah, because it fits perfectly right under the model itself. Yeah.
It's funny. I actually had another idea for that just today. Now that we're all done the shoots, and of course our sponsors on the Big Bad are Dwarven Forge, and they've been so supportive of us. And every piece of terrain you're currently looking at is from Dwarven Forge. And I saw Nate from Dwarven Forge, I think, reposting somebody else's build that included airships, and so whoever they were had constructed airships on strings from their ceiling, right? And I think also some clouds. And so it did kind of cross my mind, at least momentarily, of like we could have had the flying characters on strings suspended from something up above. But among the problems that wouldn't have worked is they'd swing around a bit. And then also, of course, our set rotates. And so if you had rotated the set, then they wouldn't be in the right place anymore. So I think probably what you came up with is probably the best thing that I've thought of to date.
I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Put up Williams' thing that he'd seen before. Because it's another interesting idea. Did I make that? Is that difficult? Did I just make it a lot difficult?
Yes, of course you did. But okay, we got it. Why don't you read it out for us, there, Dan? Since you're making
so I'm saying that he once saw an item like that for sale, but they had graduated numbers and an O-ring to roll up and down depending on how high the character was. Interesting pre-made product for that. It probably would have been a little bit too visually distracting for our set, I'm guessing.
Well, and I prefer something that is directly in scale with the miniatures and the terrain. Like, Stefan Picorni pointed out, like, one of the wonders of playing with that kind of 3D terrain is your ability to use it for stuff like getting line of sight and checking angles of things and whatnot, right? Like, when somebody asks, well, from this point, can I see so-and-so, or can I target this? You just get down there and you look. Right? You just go. I even tried to do that a couple of times. I'd get the camera down and get a character eye view to say nope, you can see the mountains in the way. Sorry.
That's a really good point. And I got again, as I was saying on Sunday, actually, like my blog about old school D&D, it's almost primarily devoted to fixing the scale issues that were broken in original D&D and First Edition because they were trying to multi-use terrain and castles and miniatures that were out of scale with the supposed distance time scale. And Gygax was dealing with that for years and years of the, as he put it, the distortions in the scales that you couldn't do what you just said.
Yeah.
And so having everything in one single scale and you can just get down there and put a ruler over it and actually look at it makes it more concrete and more tactile, and it really does make it a better game, honestly.
Yeah. It's really nice for stuff like lining up a lightning bolt, right? Or
totally.
Just answering the question of what can I see? Well, you can see this, but not that.
Totally. Yep. Let me bring it back to Tornarax.
Yeah.
So of course, Tornarax is now is he the beefiest character in the roster? No. Does he have the best armor? No. Does he have the highest hit points? No. But what he does have is he has the most unique package of magical abilities. And I actually had to, in preparing for my play as the adversary and also communicating to new players that came on, I actually had to have a text file just customized to Tornarax for me to understand all the very many different magical abilities he has. Because he has abilities for being a warlock, which are a unique way of casting spells in the game. Mm-hmm. It's not like any other class.
Yep.
He has his Infernal Pact that he gets at whatever it is, second or fourth level is where it starts, that has a different package of magical abilities from his Hellish Patron. And then he also has a package of abilities that he gets automatically for being a Tiefling. And so he has a number of things he can cast every round. He has a number of things that come from the Infernal Patron. And anything he casts as a Warlock spell, of course, the way Warlocks work, are always at the maximum slot level. So everything that he casts is automatically at the maximum slot level. And so that was very, very different for me. And I had to keep a list here of all the different things he could do and all the different ways that they interacted together. So definitely a magical powerhouse, and definitely something that, for me, the adversary was pretty hard to play against because there were so many different, for me, unique things that I'm not familiar with from First Edition, for example.
All right. That's, yeah. I guess the funny thing is with being someone who's new to all those things, sometimes the line gets a little blurry about like where the ability came from. You're like, I don't know,
exactly.
He's got all these things.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, he got a lot of different abilities from a lot of different areas.
Exactly.
It's interesting to know. I kind of like the notion of a character who's always upcasting all their spells. I always feel like upcasting is a thing that is underused. Most of the time it's only used for like, what can I do a little more damage with my fireball,
right.
Do a little more whatever.
Right.
So I find it really interesting and exciting when unusual spells get upcast and you go, oh, what does that mean to cast that spell at third level? Yep.
I was surprised by that a couple times. I mean, even his cantrip of so he's Tornarax comes on the table and he's got powers of darkness and illusions and fear and hellish rebuke and a whole bunch of other stuff. And even his Eldritch Blast, that's a cantrip that he can cast every round, even that is upcharged in a certain way. So the first time I got
true
hit
of
by
all
his
cantrips
Eldritch
in
Blast,
5th edition, right? All cantrips in 5th edition, they scale up as you level up. So, and Eldritch Blast is really kind of the staple of attack spells there for your warlocks, I think.
Yeah. That's it. That one really stung me the first time I got hit because at his level he actually gets 2 beams out of it, and that's a heck of a lot of damage to have to deal with every single round. So I was the first time I got hit with that, I was pretty unhappy about what I was going to do to counter that. Yep. Thanks, Tornarax.
Yeah. Well, as we saw, there was a whole very interesting magical exchange between your characters and Tornarax, including paralysis and including manual theft of the broom. I
needed him shut down. So I did that. And some people would say, "Hey, you have such wonderful players and pleasant people like Steph on your show. It's not sporting to paralyze them and basically remove their action from the game entirely." But yeah, I'm going to do that. You're gonna come on the big bad with a Tiefling Warlock. We are not playing with kid gloves on the show. So I went at it as I needed that character shut down, and that's what I did.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad
Sorry,
you made it. No. I'm glad you made it a challenge for them. And honestly, that's one of the delightful things of the adversary DM, I think, is how much the players enjoy it. Right? It's one of those odd things where, like, on the face value, it sounds like something that people would be like, "Oh, really?" Or, you get adversarial with your players, like. Yeah, and they love it. They feed into it, and they throw it right back at you. And I think it's this the permission granted by having the referee role taken away from you, right? Yes. By having the referee role taken away from you, you're no longer in charge. You're just the bad guys. Well, now I'm gonna really throw some shade.
And I think, on the other hand, it also bolsters your role as the adjudicatory referee. Is that I think it also increases trust and faith that your rulings are, reasonable and honest, and because they're not possibly being intermixed with "I'd like my monsters to succeed." You don't have a role in that anymore, and so I think it also increases the trust in your rulings that you actually are doing it fairly and honestly. So it's really fascinating how separating that out both increases the level of hatred against the heel and also increases the level of trust in the judgments. And it's a really wonderful take on it, I think.
Yeah. It's a very fun game, and I'm glad that in addition to highlighting Tornarax's broom in our clip, that we were able to show a little bit of the one of those times when it got heated between the ref and the big bad.
Did you actually ever throw me out of the game? Now I'm hazy on that. That was a long day. Did I get thrown out of the game?
No.
Was that?
No, you did not get thrown out of the game.
I might have wiped that. I might have wiped that out of my memory bank. I know there was one episode I was really angry what was going on. Was that one? Yeah.
There were definitely, my cards got used. That's for sure.
I will say this. The first time Paul ever pulled a card on, that's not the only time I got carded. The first time Paul ever pulled a card on me, he did not tell me that he had that available in advance. And and it was really hard for me to stay in character the first time I ever got carded, because, oh my God, that was funny. Holy crap. What a brilliant move.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad I amused you. I think that about wraps it up for us. Stan, do you have anything else to say about Tornarax Witchborn?
I think that's it. I'm glad he got used a couple times that we've seen him. It was again hard for me to grapple with as an old schooler. Really, unique character to have on the table, and I'm glad that Madbird. It's funny because we were writing the promotions for this, and it's kind of funny that sinister, half-demon, flying character got used by Madbird. So our insane flyer was specifically used by Madbird, and it was like some kind of weird synchronicity that they got to use that. So I'm really glad that they picked him among other unique characters.
I mean, okay, all right. So we're laughing here. Wait. I'm gonna have to show it real quick. Making me find this thing again. William delightfully says the winning strategy on the big bad is to get the big bad kicked out of the game. But the truth is, though, that generally groups who were able to sort of throw you for a curve one way or another, say perhaps by introducing a romantic subplot into the game, did well.
With a
right?
broom. You are correct. Yeah. So So I mean, I'm trying to distract and confuse and perplex and misinform the players, and actually, if they turn it around, that actually was a winning strategy. Now, I am too sharp. Just to be clear, William, I am way too sharp to actually get kicked off the show. So I did not. Right. I test the boundaries, right?
Yeah, Dan knows how to bring it all the way up to the edge of getting kicked out without actually getting kicked out.
Yeah.
But
good try. Good idea. I'll grant you that.
I remember we have played this game at conventions in the past where it actually confused the players, where you've told them things, and I've had to lean over and tell them, don't listen to him. He's not here to help you. Don't trust him.
Well, that's actually where the costumes came from. I mean, I'm not a big cosplayer traditionally, but actually the costumes came from that confusion. So I actually started wearing a shirt that said the big bad, to kind of plaster in people's faces that this is on the table. So that fed into the show. And that's why the show looks like it does, as a matter of fact, to make that really, really freaking obvious.
Yep. Yeah, have no confusion. Dan is not here to help you. Yeah. All right. Well, so, I think that wraps it up. That wraps it up for our development diary. Please do remember about our subscription drive. So tell your friends, tell your family, share our subscription drive around. Enter yourself. Subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe and enter into the drawing for a whole bunch of really cool stuff from us.
All of our digital products, signed T-shirts, signed mug, signed a whole bunch of stuff.
Great. And that does it for us. So thank you so much for joining us for our therapy session / review of a procedure in making the big bad. And we'll see you next time on
Don't forget about, before we go, Paul, don't forget about your show on Thursday, and don't forget about our guest Sean K. Reynolds. It'll be on the talk show on Sunday, and then James Malazewski 2 weeks after that. So a whole bunch of interesting things coming up.
Yep, a lot of good stuff coming up. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Big Bad Development Diary.